who do you think she was best suited for or more compatible with, Andre or Roy? Isaiah, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is I think she was more compatible with those dolls that she made. This lady, Celestia was just all over the place for me of what she wanted in a relationship.
So, hey everyone, and thank you for joining again with us. My name is Chris Colston. I'm here with Isaiah Tooks, Kimberly Lake, and Laria Reed, and we are Four Friends in a Book. So, Four Friends in a Book is our monthly video podcast where we have a discussion centered around a book that we're reading here together, and we just have the discussion here and relate it to any current topics or relevant things that may be going on and how they may relate to those books. So, first of all, please like, share, subscribe, comment to us, to our Four Friends in a Book on all social media platforms. Mm-hmm. And give us some comments, some feedback. We'd love to hear from you guys. Even new book recommendations or topics you want to hear us discuss about. So for this month, we're reading a very interesting book, An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, and I'm gonna let Kimberly kind of give us a quick synopsis of the book and tell you guys about it before we really get into the details of it.
Okay. An American Marriage is about a couple. They're married. They live in Atlanta. It's Roy and Celestial, and they're a young married couple, haven't been married long. They go back to Roy's hometown for a visit, and while they're there, Roy is wrongfully accused and then convicted of rape. So he is sent to jail, and the book basically goes through the changes and the struggles of their relationship as a result of that conviction, and it's some surprising twists and turns, but I don't want to ruin all of it for you. But that's basically the synopsis of the book.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
You just told me.
Probably will get into some of the details of the book. It's really
and just hard.
Well, look, that's on the synopsis of the book. So.
Okay.
But it's really hard to even talk about the book without getting into those details. So if you hadn't read the book, we might give y'all a few spoilers. I'm sorry. I mean, again, we want you guys to read along with us. So, but maybe it may, I guess, force you or even push you to go read the book if you haven't already read it. So, even with that being said, so Kim kind of broke it out. You have a couple, Roy and Celestial, they're kind of newlyweds. They go back to his hometown. Turn of events happen, and he ends up in jail. So crazy situation. Yes. It's actually written in three different perspectives. So you have Roy, Celestial, and Andre. And as the book kind of plays out, you hear these different perspectives and different, I guess, people narrating the book. So even with that being said, do you guys have, I guess, who was your favorite character, or even just get into your own summation of the book? What were your thoughts as far as, how the book was laid out? Again, if you had favorite characters, kind of your takeaway. So we'll start with my brother Isaiah. Isaiah, you got anything for that?
Yes, sir. I want to start at, believe it or not, my favorite character of the book was like Big Roy. And the reason I like Big Roy, because one, he raised Little Roy as his own son. Never even abandoned Roy, loving him, as you can love your own child. But Big Roy could only do so much when Little Roy went to prison. And even when Little Roy was released from prison, Big Roy even encouraged Roy to, fight for his marriage, and even provided the means for him to get from Louisiana to Atlanta, to go and see his wife, to see what he can do to recover, the lost times that, that he spent away in prison. And, Big Roy actually instilled a lot of values, as well as to his mom, Olive, and to Little Roy. And, we saw those values of him, going through the book. So that's why that's one of my favorite characters of the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
Laria, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Well, Roy was my person, of course. The main character. I really like him for his resiliency, because having never been to jail, you're a Morehouse graduate, you really try to get out, make your parents proud. You get married, you have a good job. You're really trying to better your life so that you don't become a blackmail statistic that's in jail. And you go through all these things, do the right thing, and still end up in prison. And for him to go to prison and survive, do well, and be able to come out and try to really regain what he can without losing his sanity, I believe is to be commendable. I enjoyed, like I said, the resiliency of him throughout the book. He was always trying to keep his marriage together. He just always tried with everything, even with the twists and turns of his roommate in jail. I want to say that just everything about his life, you just see resiliency all throughout it. And I think that that's to be commended, because I know so many Black males who try to do the right thing, but for some reason something happens, or but nothing could derail him from what I could see in the book to get him off course. So yeah, it's just the audacity of hope, so to speak.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's good. Ken, we'll come back to you for kind of a quick. I know you kind of introduced the book, but who were your favorite characters?
Well, look, it might not be popular, but my favorite character is Celestial, because I can relate to her on the being like free spirited and creative. Like when she talks about her passion about making her dolls and all this stuff, like I can relate to that, and I can relate to her, just her journey of how she started out. At the end, she had her store and she was successful. And I have dreams of my film career and all this stuff, so I can kind of relate to her as a creative and a free spirit, and like pursuing. I liked how she pursued what she wanted to do, and she really became successful at it. So I like Celestial because of that. So.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you guys all have good points. I mean, even when Isaiah talking about Big Roy, he, again, not to give too many details of the book, but he is the father of Roy, which is one of the main characters in the book. But he actually he takes on this role that you don't really find out about until later on in the book. So I don't want to give out too many spoilers, but I mean, he again, just old school father. You can just pick up the tone, just soft spoken, but just power and wisdom behind his words.
Right.
Maria mentioning Roy. Seeing that journey, that progression of him going from a college playboy, running Morehouse to, get into his career, getting married, wanting to start a family, and then it's just unforeseen event happens. Now he's in jail, and his life is just turned upside down. And that was very interesting. Even Celestial, again, a very prominent character throughout the book. Her journey, even some of the backstory, the history of her, that you kind of find out as you read the book, and just the kind of the struggle she's having with herself, and her husband going to jail, and her childhood, her parents. It was a very good book.
Really good book.
And so even with Celestial, and we kind of segue to the next point, because, and again, this might be some spoilers if y'all haven't already read the book. It's hard to really talk about this without getting into the details.
Right.
So the book, American Marriage, it starts out with Roy and Celestial being married. Roy goes to prison, and somehow Celestial ends up with Andre.
Interesting.
So Andre is a childhood friend. They grew up together from their youth. They grew up in the same neighborhood and just had been best friends throughout their their childhood and adulthood. But again, with those turn of events, somehow they end up in a relationship. So what are you guys' thoughts on that concept, or even how was that shocking to even get to that point in the book and be like, like I wasn't expecting that. Ken, we'll come back to you. Like, what were your thoughts about that turn of events, and then seeing that Celestial, especially since she's your favorite character in the book, now she got a husband and a boyfriend.
Yeah, she did. Well, I'll say this. Reading the book, for one, I don't think Roy and Celestial should have ever got married. I don't think they
That's
were
true.
ever compatible
That's
from the
true.
beginning. So I think that the turn of event, I mean, I honestly believe if he didn't go to jail, I think they would eventually separate
Yeah,
it.
the divorce. Yeah.
They
That's
just
true.
weren't compatible. They were on two different paths. They had two different goals in life. And like, as you know, well, I assume being married, you need to be on the same page to have a successful marriage. So
Right.
I think that it wasn't shocking. I was surprised. I mean, and then Roy, I mean, not to be spoiler. Well, sorry. Anyway, spoilers.
Just give it to him. Give it to him.
But even him being in his marriage, like he still had his little playboy ways, like trying to get numbers and getting your wife lingerie and somebody on the side is named lingerie tells me you're cheating on your wife even while you're married. So I'm like, I don't think they just really had a good marriage to begin with. So it's not shocking that she ended up with her childhood friend. So that's
Got it.
Okay.
But just to add to that, the whole fight and the whole reason he went to prison was because they were arguing. Because he had to leave out, he left out of the room to take to cool off or whatnot. So that goes along with what Kim said. I mean, yeah.
they just they weren't compatible.
They weren't.
But you have anything to add to that?
I really do. But still, Andre broke what we call the bro code. And got with his best friend, so we need to really discuss with that. Andre had feelings for Celestial way long before he acted on them, and he knew her way before he even got married. He even introduced Celestial to Roy back in college, and Andre knew that Roy was innocent of the charges, against him or what sent him to prison, and he knew Celestial family was even working to try to get him released from prison. So I felt that he took advantage of Roy's absence to move into this new role with Celestial, and I even remember like a dinner within the book that Celestial dad was even telling, Andre and Celestial, like, why did y'all wait until Roy went to prison to start this new romance? Like, you had all the time in the world before you even met Roy to act upon this, romance. And, she may have even been strong in her business life, like what Kim said, but, in her personal life, she seemed like a very needy woman. And I can't even respect Andre because how do you prey on your friend's wife while he's incarcerated? Like, I just can't get with that. And maybe I got too invested in the book. And, it just turned my whole on that part of it.
I think if she was needy, Roy was also insecure too, like on his end, because he was always like, I'm not like he just was always insecure about her upbringing, her family's money. So I just think like they just was not compatible. I think they had attraction, sexual attraction, whatever. But as far as like being a couple and really making it, I don't think they would have made it anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, I think you do have a good point. I mean, again, that is kind of against bro code. So, Andre is actually the person that introduced Roy to Celestial. Kind of a random, I guess, introduction. But that's how they actually met. And then, so again, he circles back around and now he ends up with her. But what are you guys' thoughts even on that perspective? So do you think it was true love for Celestial when she was with Roy or Andre? Like, what are your thoughts as far as since she has gone back and forth between these two men? Like, how do you view that?
I'm just thinking.
I see that look on your face.
I think eventually at the end of the book, look, we keep doing the spoiler, but whatever, it's a book review. We just have to, where everybody gets where they're supposed to be with their spouses or their mates or who they're with. I think really in actuality, that's who they were supposed to be with from the beginning. So with the whole Andre piece, it wasn't right the way it happened, which is why the whole incident at the house went down, which needed to happen. but I don't know why I'm talking in circles, but if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. But I believe that that Andre, he was very wrong with how he did it. Just if you want to be with somebody, go on and close that door and then open the new one. Don't have this man in prison, and he's innocent. He's not there because he did something wrong. First of all, let's go there. And then you mess around with this dude that he's, it was too close for comfort for me. So my thing is that was a very cowardly thing for him to do, for Andre to do. So you just take this man's wife when he's not there. Like you couldn't even do it while he was with her. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like it was a lot. But in the end, everybody got where they were supposed to be. So it was an ugly mess, but it eventually worked out. But I just hate the way that went down. It wasn't cool. Not for me.
Yeah. For me, it was very reminiscent of the movie Brown Sugar. Y'all remember that movie?
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Tay Diggs. Was it Tay Diggs in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tay Diggs and Sanaa Lathan, I think. And so they again.
But it was different because they messed around before he got married. They didn't do it anymore. And then after, this was all during. This was happening.
But again, to Isaiah's point, like Andre knew, and even I think something had been doing their prom, if I remember correctly, because I think Andre and Celestia went to prom together, and they had a kiss or something. So it was still, again, you have this childhood friends that you kind of teeter the line as far as friendship, romance, relationship type thing. And again, when I read the book, it kind of reminded me of the movie Brown Sugar, how you had childhood friends that actually end up together. So that was kind of interesting to me.
I think kind of like Maria, everybody ended up with who they were supposed to be with, really. I think with Celestial, she just wasn't, because her dad used to always tell her, like, growing up, like, Andre's your husband, like, that's who you need to be with. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think she was mature enough or, in her womanhood enough to kind of even be with him. He always loved her, but she wasn't open to, even like the prom night, she was like, can we forget about that? Like, that even happened. So I think she just wasn't in a space until later in life to receive him. But I agree with Laria. I feel like if they were like that, they should have just closed the chapter, got the divorce, and then moved on. Because that's why it kind of reminds me how, like, Bill Cosby on his show talked about how who was it? Vanessa, when she brought her man home on the trash can lid. So like their relationship was presented in that way. So that's why her parents weren't with it, like, because it was like on the trash can lid. It wasn't done the right way. So I think that would help them. But I think they just ended up who they were supposed to be with in the end. So
right. It was messy how it got there, but it got there.
One of the quotes that I wrote down in the book that kind of stood out to me was it was in chapter 1, I think, but it says love is the enemy of sound judgment.
Okay.
And there was a lot of misjudgment or just, I guess, change of minds, I guess, throughout this book as far as the whole love process. So I don't know, that kind of stood out to me, considering that Celestial and her love life kind of teetered back and forth between these two men. So you guys kind of have already done it, but just to kind of recap or give a quick answer. So Celestial was dating both of these, or was in a relationship with both of these men. She was married to Roy. She ended up getting into a relationship with Andre. Who do you think she was best suited for or more compatible with, Andre or Roy? Isaiah, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is I think she was more compatible with those dolls that she made. This lady, Celestia was just all over the place for me of what she wanted in a relationship. So if we're gonna talk about Celestia, we gotta start all the way from the beginning now.
Keep it real.
Y'all remember from when she was in college, that mishap that she had with her college professor and what sent her back from Howard University, and she had to go back to Atlanta. So we have to start with that situation. Then she got with Roy. Then she got into another situation, and another entanglement became with Andre. And it just basically seems that she was looking for somebody just basically to take care of her as her parents did. That's what I felt from it. And even her dad even pointed out that, it may be their fault, but being sheltering her as her being like the only child, and she had to actually bring some of those attributes into her adulthood. So it looked like with as I keep reading about her, it's like she was never really, stated really true of what she wanted. Even to when she was introducing her relationship with Dre, they had already had like this preconceived topic of what they're gonna talk about, the words that they're gonna spit out. Like if it was genuine, like you're gonna speak from your heart and you're gonna tell your family, while I love this person and while I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. And that's just my
Look,
Don't be
it's
coming
Speaking
for
of
very
my
rant
girl.
before
clear.
the rant.
Look, it's very clear. Isaiah ain't checking for Celestia no kind of way. Like she's just like,
and
nah,
I'm
man.
shocked that the women are going really light on her. I'm shocked.
I
I
mean,
haven't got on. I was trying to, but that's what I was getting at. And I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Kim. Were you about to say
no,
something?
that,
I didn't. I was just gonna say that he hit the nail on the head though, because I felt like she was a drifter and she just kind of, oh, you are okay. It was never like I'm with Roy, me and Roy and da 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 da. It just didn't feel like her heart was there with him. But it didn't feel to me like her heart was with Andre either. It just felt like he was there. He was convenient. And I think in her life, she just drifted along. And like Isaiah said, that's why I laughed so hard because I really do feel like her passion was with those dolls. That's what she loved. That was the constant thing. I mean, he was right. Like he nailed it. It's the truth. I just think she was so free spirited. She just went wherever the wind blew her with her love life. That's where she went. So, another guy could come along when she was with Andre and she'd probably go there too. It just, whatever. Yeah.
All right, Kim. So look, they talking about your girl. What you
Let's
gonna
get favorite character.
Sorry.
what you gonna
right.
say?
I do agree. I mean, that's why, like I said, why I link with her because her passion for what she did. I honestly think she would stay with Andre. I think for her and the type of woman she is, I'm not sure if she's ever really like I don't want to say Marion type, but like the relationship.
Yeah.
Like she just like a free spirit. So I
Yeah.
think Andre, it affords her. I think she does care about him and all that. It gives her, I guess, the best of both worlds. Somebody to
Mm-hmm.
be with in that sense, have companionship with, and still just be who she is as a free spirit and a creative and an artist. But I think, yeah, I think she ended up with the right person because Andre is going to allow her to be actually her. Like he didn't try to
Mm-hmm.
change her. I think that's the thing with Roy. I think Roy wanted Celestial to be something she wasn't. And
Right.
I think with Andre, he knew how, like, he grew up with her, so he knows her, how she is from jump. He didn't try to change her. He's like, the ring he got, he's like, she ain't gonna want no diamond. She gonna want like a special kind of ring because that's her. So I think with being with Andre, he allowed her to be her. So she got the best of both worlds. So even though I think it was convenient, I think she does love him and care about him. And I think that's the best relationship for her.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think to Isaiah's point, I think Celestial was really just going through life and almost kind of figuring it out as she went. I think she was a very free spirit and just kind of going with the flow. I think she had these encounters with these men. I think they had purpose in her life, but I don't think that even looking at her and Andre, I just think because they have such a long history, again, they kind of know how to navigate their relationship a little better. So maybe Andre just kind of understands, when to kind of be present and when to kind of remove himself because they have grown up as childhood friends, and so maybe he is better suited for her free spirited, approach for life and just her artistry and she's doing. So yeah, it appeared as if her and Roy just were on different pages as far as what they wanted and desired. So from that perspective, I do think that she ended up with the right person. I'm like Laria though. I think someone else could probably come along and give her something new, and she might be in the wind again. And Andre might be sitting there looking sad with the boo boo face. I don't know, but that's good. Yeah, Isaiah said, "Nah, man, she don't need nobody. She need to stick with them dolls." That's interesting.
You know right though.
So even with the book, so again, they have this. I'm not Andre. Roy and Celestia had this night in Louisiana where they are back in their hometown. he has this interaction with this woman, and ultimately what happens is this woman accuses him of rape, and so he is sentenced to a 12-year sentence in prison. He serves 5 years before he is released on an appeal of his trial.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, he didn't actually commit the rape himself, but again, it was just the accusation of that was enough and was sufficient for him to be, sentenced to jail.
That's
And
true.
so we're gonna throw to a clip right now. We kind of in this culture of people just doing nothing or being innocent, but then being accused of crimes and accusations. So we're gonna throw to this clip real quick, and we'll come back and have a discussion about it, and we'll talk a little bit more how it may even relate to the book we're reading.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. Would you please stop? Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking a picture and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, I'm in the Ramble, and there is a man, African-American, he has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African-American man, I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the Ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park in the Ramble. I don't know.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So we just watched this clip, and I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen it. It's gone viral over I think last year, maybe the year before. Woman in Central Park in New York walking her dog. She accuses this man. He's out there just bird watching. She accuses him of making threats against her life. That he's attacking her. Fortunate for him, he's recording the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not doing anything to the woman at all, but she calls the police and just is pleading this case as far as him almost just threatening her life and attacking her when the video clearly shows that that's not going on at all. So and now these incidents have become so frequent, we're dubbing them as these Karen events or whatever. So what are you guys' thoughts? I guess even in that situation, do you find it hard to even navigate based on past experience or historical context of knowing that you could easily be accused of something, and police could be called on you, and you're not even doing anything that's criminal or legally wrong, but just the perspective of someone else could really change the scope and the outlook of your life, as we even saw in the book with Roy going to jail behind an accusation. So what are you guys' thoughts on this whole Karen culture and people so quick to call the police and just for trivial accusations that seem kind of unwarranted? Kim, you want to go first?
Sure. I think it's unfortunate Roy had to go through that situation. Even I think about if I had sons or somebody in that same predicament, I'd be like, you can't be going to no women's room. Like, I feel like now you want to be nice to people and you want to do things for people, but just the way the culture is now and just life in general, you just never know people's true intents in their heart. So you can have the best of intentions and get the worst outcome. So like,
That's right.
I think about me having sons, I would be like, Never go up to no woman's room. I know I raised you to be a gentleman, but never even put yourself in any kind of situation that may turn out in a bad way for you in any way. I feel it's sad we kind of have to raise our boys, especially black men, to kind of think that way, but that's just the way it is here in America. And I know, like me being a black woman, my skin tone, I don't get the benefit of the doubt. So I kind of have to always kind of think of situations and kind of think of the scope of what may happen. And yeah, so that's how I think about that.
Okay. Yeah, and it's situations where you may not even be doing anything wrong, but you can
Right.
become, the person or a suspect, which is just it's crazy and it's baffling. Isaiah, what are your thoughts from the black man's perspective as far as, have you ever had any situations or encounters like this, or have you even find yourself being conscious to make adjustments to even make someone feel more comfortable if you are in a situation that you feel like something could go awry or could go badly? Like, is that something that you're always like consciously thinking about?
I've never per se been into like a Karen situation, but I do find myself consciously, thinking about the person next to me, even as far as like with our appearance. It seems like that we even have to scale back our facial hair, our natural curls, to even get the same, respect. But this is our natural hair. This is what God gave us. And, it's even a bill out now that's saying that you can't discriminate someone, based on their hair type, based on their interview. And it seems that we always have to conform to the world standards of what people think that we are. So we have to jump through higher hoops, speak more clearly, have more degrees, just to get the same opportunity of the next person next to us. And I think that, this is the world that we live in, which is not always right. At this point, I don't know what the rules that we have to play, to get the same level, of experience. But, it's unfortunate that we have to actually go through this. And this is 2021. So we are still fighting for the same rights and the same privileges our parents and our grandparents fought, so many years ago.
Yeah, good. Yeah, even like you mentioned your appearance, and also perception being reality for a lot of people. So how someone perceives you can really change the outcome of how they view you, and could literally become their reality, even though they're just looking at you from a different lens.
That's true.
Yeah, that's wow. Maria, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got like 8 million going in my head, and I'm trying to pick out which one to pull. But I feel like with this woman in this clip, for some reason, this must have worked for her before, for her to be so bold, to do it just so blatantly. And it's just so mind-boggling that someone would do that. You know what I'm saying? Just because somebody's color of their skin is darker than another person. It just doesn't make sense to me, but I understand. And first of all, I was like, oh, it was a black dude looking at birds. Like, I didn't know of any. That was my first reaction when I first saw it. I was like, a brother's looking at, okay, all right, that's different.
So we can bird watch.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, what birds you looking at? So yeah, okay. Hadn't heard of that before from a black man, but that was cool to know. But anyway, but the whole situation was just, that could have gone way left real quick if if there was no recording, if an officer was trigger happy and didn't feel and felt like, this woman was telling the truth. That could have gone so far to the left, kind of like the whole Tulsa situation, the Emmett Till situation. Thank God for technology, but at the same time, we have to be responsible for what we say and what we do to people. And even as a black person, I have to be responsible for what I do. And what it does is it makes, for me, I'm not as quick to call for the police to come because I don't want it to get out of control, or I don't, I'm thinking way ahead of things because I don't want to put this person in, and it shouldn't be that way. Yeah. So that's just kind of the way that's some of my thoughts. I got about 8 million, like I said, but that's the main gist of what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's to still see the similarities of our historical milestones or things that we have experienced. Or you mentioned, the Tulsa riot. I mean, Emmett Till. We look at the Atlanta race riots, Rosewood. You have all these historical events that were all centered around accusations that were really unfounded, but it just erupted into something that was much bigger. It's just still very sad to even think that, these things are still taking place and that, an accusation could literally be the end of your life.
Scary.
Really turn out and turn left, go left very quickly. So.
And one thing I do want to add to as well, even if we do have the technology out there, everything is being filmed nowadays. And it seems that, even if this situation has been filmed, we still have to fight and prove the facts that this happened. This is on film. And you can still argue, say, like, no, that didn't happen and blah, blah, blah. But, it's just still that even our word is not even good enough, that we have to just come in and just, preserve every single thing. And that's the most frustrating part. Like when is enough is enough.
Right.
It's crazy. We're still talking about these same things, but
we got to keep shining the light on them.
We got so much more to go, and then so we just all have to play our part to do better and kind of continue to have the conversation and advance the conversation that we can maybe bring about the change that's needed. So. All right. So look, good segue. And we're actually gonna get to our favorite segment of the show. We have it each show, which we call the rant. So 60 seconds, uninterrupted, talking about whatever may be on your mind. We're not debating it. We're not contesting it. We're not gonna argue about it. It's just you speaking from your heart. We're coming back to my brother Isaiah. He's been killing these rants every episode, so we're gonna give it to him again. We're not sure what we're gonna get right now, but 60 seconds starting now. Go.
76-year-old Gwen Levy is sitting in jail and pending being transported back to prison. Why, you ask? Because she was advised she had violated parole. How? Because she missed a phone call from her parole officer. Gwen Levy was returned back to prison for not answering a phone call from her federal parole officer while in a computer class. And after serving 16 years in prison, Gwen was allowed to leave last June and finish her 24-year sentence in home confinement. She is one of 4,500 federal prisoners sent home last year to protect them from contracting COVID. Her attorney was advised there's no question that she was in class, but she was still listed as escaped. Her parole officer said she could have been robbing a bank, and they're going to treat her as she was robbing a bank. This is absolutely absurd on all levels. In addition to Gwen Levy being sent back to prison for missing a phone call, her original sentence for dealing drugs, which is a non-violent offense, is 1.5 years longer than Derek Chauvin, who nonchalantly murdered a man in broad daylight and on camera. And in the words of the late Justice Thurgood Marshall, we have to become part of a system to destroy it. And that's that on that.
Criminal system is not always about justice. It definitely needs some overhaul and some work, and so I think we all have a part to play in that as far as trying to make this thing better and to play our role, whether it's being serving jury duty or whatever else you need to do to kind of
sure.
So, all right. So look, Four Friends in the Book podcast. Again, we're bringing you books. We're bringing you relevant topics. We're trying to relate these things together, and we just kind of talking amongst friends. So our book of this month, we just wrapped it up. So Isaiah, tell them about the book we're going to be doing for next month.
Hey guys, before we let you go, we want you to join us in our next episode as we dive into Tayari Roberts' book, Wholeness. This book will elevate your sense of fulfillment, produce healthier, more rewarding relationships, and position you for success. You don't want to miss it. L'Real, when can they tune in?
You guys can tune in with us every third Thursday of the month right here on our podcast. And Kim's going to tell you about all of where you can see us, but every third Thursday. So make sure you put us on your calendar and your phone.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram as Four Friends in a Book. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, what are you doing? So hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So help us get there and make sure you check us there. And we're also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So make sure to check us out there.
So again, thank you all for joining with us and tuning in today. Hey, let's read, let's learn, let's grow, and let's have a discussion here on Four Friends in a Book. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.